You know, last year I reviewed 16 or 17 different Vincent Price movies. That's an absolutely large amount of movies for one person review from one actor. Well, we're still carrying on. And there's still more I want to watch with Mr. Vincent Price in House of Wax from 1953 or something like that. In the wicked performance that crowned him the movie's master of the macabre, Vincent Price plays a renowned wax sculptor plunged into madness when an arsonist destroys his life's work. Unable to use his flame-scarred hands, he devises a new and murderous way of restocking his house of wax. The sweet dread and sheer fun of this creepy classic, co-starring Phyllis Kirk, Carolyn Jones, and Charles Bronson, and directed by Andre de Toth, has its roots in a Warner Brothers thriller from 20 years before. Mystery of the Wax Museum, starring Lionel Atwill as the wax-wielding madman and Fay Ray as a political potential victim. Directed by Michael Kerwitz. And yeah, so it's pretty much just the same thing. It's, yeah, as you can tell, it's got both, which I may review the other one, but this first one, though, oh, yes. This is pretty much what made Mr. Price go on. Pretty much solidified his career, as he was kind of experiencing I want to say he was exactly struggling. His name wasn't exactly well known. We're in like the 1930s and everything, but here it's gleeful. It's like you've seen one character, you've seen them all, but I don't know. He just has a way to finesse his style of, even though it's the same character, they're all just different enough to where you can see, like, okay, some Abominable, Dr. Phelps, Diary of a Madman, and the more, here, I like how he portrays two halves. Two halves of first, he plays the charismatic, gentlemanly, a little slightly askew Henry Jarrett, as he's trying to, keep his house of wax alive. And then in the other half, he portrays more of the madman as he's trying to get revenge against the person who pretty much torched his life's work. Yeah, the story, it's a revenge plot. It's like we have all these great wax figures. I mean, these are some stunning wax figures recreating certain scenes from history, like when Lincoln got terminated in the theater. We have Cleopatra and Mark Antony. We have Anne Boleyn. We have a lot of just amazing sets, but there is something a little off about all these figurines and how they're all produced. It's like, okay, what is going on with these? Yeah, there's a little more going into the depths of darkness than depravity. Well, for 1950s horror going on. Yeah, it's half police procedural, half, I don't know, what's perpetrator, I guess. Yes, it gets them standard police work, is like where they're looking at, because we have Carolyn Jones. She played the wife in the Adams, Morticia Adams, I think. Anyway, yeah, she's less of the gothic lady that we all love, and more the debutante kind of, I don't know, it's act that she does here, playing more sensitive role, which, you know what, I actually like. Here it shows she has truly had great range as an actress. So it's interesting to see they're kind of like I guess the beginnings, or what's the word, progenitor of certain careers. But yeah, and of course, but you're wondering, okay, like, what's the story about? The story is just what happens when obviously disagreements between characters over financial and business futures and stuff like that. A man who's dedicated to his craft, using hands, when ultimately he gets pretty much, I don't want to say immolated, but just set ablaze, and it just so disturbing. At the same time, so right. So, obviously they start absconding the bodies a la Frankenstein. Not a grave robber, but just more like taking the freshly and autopsy bodies, I guess would be the word, and just going to town on them. And we actually get to see, for once, get to see the process enough of how it happens. Which means getting this vat of liquid, getting the rudimentary body that they were going for. You know, it's like, hey, let's abscond the body, put it inside this vat, and then have this formula descend, and as it's in over 500 degrees, ultimately the body, the cast, the form, whatever, is generated. So that set was really nice to see. I'm like, yes, I like to see behind the scenes stuff enough. So every time you go to a wax museum, you can at least get an understanding of how it works. And you can say, hey, is anyone here a fan of Vincent Price's House of Wax? Wouldn't that be funny to ask? You're like, interesting. So yeah, obviously that it's atmospheric as heck. Like in the first half, there's a very there's a very eerie set of a fog machine, and with this fog machine, we see a lady who's running where she's being confronted, and it just adds the overall sense of urgency. And you're just thinking, is she gonna make it out? Like, what's gonna happen to her? And yeah, it's just good stuff. I mean, this movie is freaking great, and better yet, it's in color. As the color fades around from here, because I'm watching Supermarket Sweep at the same time, or at least looking. So, um, and then in the beginning, in this second half, is when things start to get a little more, I guess, perky, because it's like the atmosphere of all these wax dummies, these wax figures. It's like they say they look so great and they're lifelike. Yeah, obviously, when the bodies are being prepared, it just adds, everything just gets creepy. Oof, and I'll tell you, man, when I was looking at them, like, they had some great sculptors, of course, to create it, but then just to have the bodies, just to store them, just what a macabre, elegaic way that a reminder of Memento Mori. You know, we're all gonna die. So I guess one way is to have your artist, your creations be, remembered for quite a long time. Holy smokes. Music is fine for the 1950s. It's your standard scores. It doesn't really stand out to me that much, but at the same time, like I said, I like to keep it quiet. Oh yeah, and pre-mustache Charles Bronson in this. I know that him and Price teamed up in an earlier movie, one about flight or whatever it was. But here he plays a deaf mute, which was an interesting combination. So you had to rely. He's got the presence, but he's just missing the mustache. Otherwise, it would have been a complete experience. And from what I remember on the IMDb tribute for the other one, Price can make friends with pretty much all of his co-stars except for Charles Bronson. It's like, hey, I'm Charles Bronson. No, I won't be friends with you. Vincent, you're a nice guy, but I'm just waiting for my mustache to grow. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, obviously this movie isn't for everyone. One, you may be turned off by the way how the visuals are. Just all the creepy wax figures, definitely disturbing. Two, some may say, oh, not too much happens, and I can't. I can't deny that. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is 1953. People were definitely shocked by then, and just the thrills and chills may not be there for certain people nowadays, but alone, just all the performances, I just say all that supersedes the problems that one may have with the negatives. I mean, the negatives are very, very small. This is truly a landmark, legendary movie that kind of redefined horror, and I think even maybe it influenced what was that Tourist Trap with Chuck Connors. I don't know, at least some influence with all those mannequins. Here, it's not as eerie, but again, it's unsettling, and the performances are really gosh darn good, with it being a springboard. Some trivia that they said, I guess I always leave with a piece of trivia, was that in order to keep the costs low, they like had some figures right there, wax figures, did a burning down scene, and then just reused the ones that still stood. And in the 1933 version, there was a heroin addict, but they weren't allowed to say it because of the Hays Code, so instead they just transformed it here into a drunk with a guy who looks like King Leonidas or whatever. So yeah, definitely in a true sense of a great movie, and especially with the makeup. Check out the makeup on Vincent Price as you watch House of Wax.